before I start jumping into who Nimble is, what we do, and why HP acquired us, I'd love to ask you guys some questions, and I'm going to do that throughout this presentation. So I will laser pointer folks and just call people out in the audience. So first and foremost, give me an example of some of the hot topics that you're hearing about today in IT. Could be very broad. Just throw a couple out there. Cloud storage. Anyone else? Flash. Anything else? Ransomware is huge. Anything else? All right. We got 3 pretty quick. That's pretty good. Thank you. So we're going to talk to you a little bit about all of those things. To Dan's point, we're not a solution for everybody. We're not going to solve all of your problems. We are a data storage provider, but we do things a little bit differently, right? So before I start talking about who we are, I want to give you a little bit of background on myself. Started out with EMC a little over 10 years ago. From EMC, I went to Dell, and then I took my run at a couple startups. Now, why I bring that up is innovation doesn't always come without risk, right? And I've learned that the hard way a couple times, right? So when you talk about SimpliVity, when you talk about Nimble, when you talk about all these other innovative technology companies that claim they can solve all of your problems, well, what if you don't make it, right? So HP is in a really unique point in its life where you now have the ability to have innovative technology with major corporation funding backing it. So whether it's SimpliVity, whether it's Nimble, right, you have the ability to really get some really innovative stuff without having to worry if it's going to make it or not 5 years down the road. So coming from the startup world and coming from some of the larger players out there like the Dells, like the EMCs, for me, one of the biggest points and biggest selling points for me to join Nimble was, first and foremost, our 85 NPS score. Is anyone familiar with what that is? No? Some of you? So it's basically who would recommend this product to a friend or family. 85 is the highest rating in the storage business today. So for me, that was an automatic, right? If the technology is innovative, if the customers love the technology, it's a win-win, right? And now with the backing of HPE, the risk is now mitigated as well. So this is who we were before. We're a Gartner leader, upper right-hand quadrant, the most visionary in that space. A lot of our technology alliances here, I know Veeam's here today. I'll talk a little bit about the integration there. Any Veeam customers in the room? Any Nimble customers in the room? Perfect. So you'll hear something new. So one of the key points that I want to bring out is our customer count. And I don't say this to try to wow you as, wow, you guys are growing so fast. Look at all these companies that you work with. Someone mentioned cloud. Someone mentioned Flash, but no one mentioned big data analytics and what that can do for your business, right? So keep that in mind when I get to our customer count. So we really span the gamut, right? We don't pride ourselves on some of these logos, right? I put this up here intentionally because I want people to look at me and be like, well, I'm not Office Depot, I'm not Walmart. But the beauty of this is with Nimble, you can start incredibly small. We have customers that have no more than 6 terabytes. But because of flexibility of our platform, can scale up to deployments that are large enough to suit, Microsoft and Amazon. So start small, grow large, and everywhere in between we can fit that objective. Now we talked a little bit about some other areas in the data center, right? So cloud and Flash. So we'll go through kind of the product lineup real quick, and I'll get into more of the underworkings of it all. So Nimble started off as a hybrid array. We use a very, very small amount of SSD as a caching layer. So our hybrids, believe it or not, can actually perform as fast as our all-flash systems. Now the beauty of what we're doing here isn't the fact that we're storage. It's the fact that we have analytics built into these storage devices. So we have hybrid, we have all-flash, we have our DR arrays and our SF series that integrate directly with Veeam. So items like ransomware, if you get hit with CryptoLocker or something like that, some really fast ways to not only restore, but ensure that the previous backup is working, right? And you can actually restore from that. But even beyond that, my customers are asking me for more than just on-prem storage. A lot of them are trying to get to the cloud. They don't want to buy any more on-prem physical hardware. But most customers aren't ready for it necessarily. Is anyone already moving to the cloud? Anyone thinking about it? All right, so I saw some head nods. So the key for us at Nimble is, you might not be ready for the cloud today, but we want to make sure we provide you a roadmap to get there. So whether it's on-prem or cloud, we have what's called Nimble Cloud Volumes. So you can actually replicate directly from your on-prem Nimble to Nimble dedicated volumes in Amazon or Microsoft Azure. So providing that roadmap is incredibly important to us. But on top of that, having the ability to not only manage, but monitor all those aspects within your data center simultaneously. Questions so far? Great. So we call this our multi-cloud flash fabric. So we have primary all-flash. A lot of my customers have primary flash for their primary data center, primary applications, and maybe a secondary flash or hybrid array for DR. But what about that long-term cold storage, right? Being able to replicate to a cloud environment with Amazon, with Azure is incredibly important. And the nice thing there is you don't actually have to worry about the egress charges if you ever want to get out. So you have dedicated enterprise class hardware, no white box storage on the back end, enterprise class replication, snapshotting, management, VMware integration, all built in out of the box. So let's get down to the crux of it, right? The last place I wanted to go, and my manager, if he was in the room, would probably throw something at me, was a storage company. I had been at a couple storage companies before. I did not want to go to a storage company. I wanted to go to a company that solved real world problems for our customers. So when I look at Nimble, I don't see us as a storage company. I see us as a data delivery company. Now, what do I mean by that? This little loading bar in the circle of death, if you will, causes frustration internally at any organization. And oftentimes what happens is that kicks back on IT. Even though the CFO may have given you a quarter of the budget you requested the year before to get the job done accurately, right? I saw a couple smiles in the crowd. So what we've done is we've built in predictive analytics, big data analytics to help solve for these problems. And we call this the application data gap, right? You have your storage, you have your network, you have your physical host, you have your VMs, the applications that live within those VMs, and then the user. There's a lot that happens from the point of user requesting data to actually servicing that data to that end user. So at Nimble, what we've done and what we've identified is less than 50% of the time, application slowdown is caused by the actual storage, which was mind-blowing to me. I never understood that and how much of an impact that can have on an organization. So in my previous lives, if a customer called me and said, Alex, my application is running slow, I threw disk at the problem. I said, well, buy some flash, right? Or, sorry, it's not us. Our system looks healthy. Maybe it's your network. Maybe it's VMware. But I can't guarantee you that. I'm not sure. Talk to them. And then they say the same thing and point them back at me. So you get one of these types of things going on. So this is our real differentiator, which is InfoSight, our predictive analytics platform. And this is one of the primary key reasons why HPE acquired us. Now, just to preface this, and don't take, and I don't know how much I can say on this, so HP, Bordy, just give me a little sign. But the goal really is to work in InfoSight to both Nimble, SimpliVity, and the other HP storage lines today. So everything you're going to see here is going to start to become integrated into the rest of the HP portfolio. Some really innovative stuff. So before I go to the next slide, who uses MapQuest? I saw a couple people laughed, right? Why are you laughing? It's pretty innovative stuff. No?
Google Maps is better.
Google Maps, yeah. What about Waze? Anyone use Waze? All right, perfect. That played out perfectly. Sometimes it doesn't. So 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I used to print out directions. Maybe not 5 years ago, but 10 years ago. I'd print out directions. And if I was going to any location, if there was a traffic cop, or if there was an accident, or maybe there was a road that closed, I would have no idea, right? I get to the stop sign, oh shoot, I can't go left, I have to go right. Now what do? I'm calling out my buddy, calling out my family member saying, I'm at the McDonald's, do I take a left or a right? Right? So it's reactive. With Nimble, what we've done with InfoSight is created a predictive portfolio and platform to where we can look beyond just storage. So we're essentially the Waze of the IT data center. We can tell you, hey guys, looks like you're going to experience a slowdown based on the most recent version of VMware and an issue that we're seeing with 500 other customers globally, and you kind of fit the bill. You should probably take proactive stance against this and update XYZ, right? Or maybe we're experiencing some latency. It's not the storage, it's your network configuration, right? So we're taking a step further. Now, I brought up this slide earlier and that 11,000 plus customer number earlier, not to try to impress you guys with the fact that we're growing fast, but because we're taking all this intelligence, all this data globally, feeding it into this big data analytics Vertica database in the cloud, and we're repopulating that and pushing it out to our customers nearly real time so we can help facilitate more proactive approach to IT, right? So we are the Waze of the data center, right? Your peers, your Nimble peers, and soon to be your SimpliVity peers and HPe peers that have InfoSight built into their technology, you'll all be helping one another avoid those certain roadblocks. So the beauty of what we're doing, right, is we're taking sensor data. And it's not just from storage, and I have 3 minutes here, so I'm going to go pretty quickly. It's not just from storage, it's from the network, it's from the host, it's from the VM itself, and now we're actually drilling into the applications. And we're doing this globally across every array we've ever shipped out since inception. Now this is really important because there's a lot of folks out there, some of my larger competitors out there saying they do something similar. But if I were to stand here today and tell you, I work for a company that's going to compete with Google, what would you say? You look at me like I was crazy. They have the historicals, they have the customer base. It's almost impossible to replicate. So we've been doing this longer than anybody. We've been doing this for 8 years, gathering data since the very first array we ever shipped and correlating all that information to feed back to our clients to ensure more optimal uptime. Just going to skip through this. Skip through this. So what this has allowed us to do is first and foremost, open and close 86% of all support tickets on your behalf. So you don't even need to pick up the phone and talk to support. Our InfoSight predictive analytics portal is level 1 and is level 2. And we can actually deliver this to our customers at a lower cost than traditional vendors. Why? We don't have to staff level 1 and level 2 engineers. InfoSight is our level 1 and level 2. We go right to level 3 every single time. We have 6 nines of availability. Once again, our proactive measures that we take with InfoSight helps deliver this. And more than 50% of the time, the problems that we're solving as a storage company aren't even related to storage. Our engineers are helping customers solve VMware problems, interoperability with the network, right? So we're looking far beyond. We're essentially the additional man on your IT team, right? To Dan's point, most of my customers don't have 10 guys looking at or girls, looking at a storage console, right? No one has time for it anymore. You want it to be proactive, you want it to be effective. Am I over? All right. So skip. We talked a little bit about the portfolio. This is all, we're not going to have time for any of this. So I'm just going to jump right to questions. The last thing I want to point out is, we are first and foremost customer-centric, focused on customer success. We're not a product company. We're a big data analytics, data delivery company. We're really excited to be a part of HPE, to be able to integrate now with our friends over at SimpliVity, as well as 3PAR and the other HPE storage lines. Any questions on what I went over today? And we went through a lot really fast. There's got to be something. Give me one. No, it's okay. All right. We're good?
Thank you, Alex. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Okay.